that you touched while you were here on earth. We wish to pay you last respect. Thanks. That's why we are here. Thank you for your friendship and all the memories we hold dear. It is a privilege to have known you. We were family, not just friends. We will carry you in spirit until we meet again. Susie Holdall, a good friend. Do you want me to read it or? Okay. Sure. So Jerry's going to talk, and then Susie Friendall, a good friend of mine, is going to read a little speech here.
So I had a whole lot of stuff written, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. But Betty was so many things, and I was going to make this huge montage, this photo montage for her, and to display. But the problem is that she wasn't just grandma to our family or to Mark and Tammy's family. She wasn't just auntie. She wasn't just friend. She was everything to so many people, and her main goal in life was to love mankind. She loved everybody, and so I wanted to talk about that just a little bit and about her strength. And she was a very strong-willed woman, and sometimes I'd be a liar if I didn't say we butt heads now and then. But we always seem to work our way through it. But I was given an assignment. For those of you who don't know, I'm substitute teaching now because I retired from my position. But one of the classes I had to go into, they wanted me to hand out. It was about having the students write about their heroes and what sort of attributes those heroes, living or gone, would these attributes would they have. And as I was driving home from work that day, I started thinking about, who's my hero? Do I have a hero? I don't know. And I started thinking, and it came to me that Betty is my hero. And one of the reasons why is because of that strong will and the butting of heads. She had such an incredible faith in everybody. And I would sometimes sit back and just wonder, where is this coming from? Because she had the faith to get in the car with my kids when they had their learner's licenses. Now, I still struggle with that. They've been driving for 10, 15 years. I've got my hand on, and as Madison and anybody else can attest to, I've got my hand on that, the door frame, and I'm like, don't tailgate, slow down. And they say I'm a terrible backseat driver, and I full-heartedly admit it. But when they had their learners, she would get in the car and she'd go to sleep. I said, where does that faith come from? Where does that strength come from? Why can't I be like that? Some of the other things that we talked about, that the water was never better than in Golden, the mountains were never higher than in Golden, the ski hill was the best ski hill in the world, and I'd be like, her faith and her rose-colored glasses. And I thought, man, and sometimes, I'll be honest, that would annoy me a little bit, so I try and pop the bubble every now and then. And when we were driving through the Swiss Alps, I said, oh no, these are the most beautiful mountains in the world, Grandma. And I got a tongue lashing that, although they were nice, nothing beat the Rocky Mountains in Golden. So she had this unshakable faith and these rose-colored glasses. And as I was driving home that day about who's my hero and why, I thought, darn, why did just have a pair of her rose-colored glasses? Because she truly looked at everything in such a way that it just brought light. And she truly believed, like Great-Grandma Richards, that love conquered all, that faith conquered all. And although sometimes I tried vehemently to disagree with her, that there was more to it than that, it always boiled down to the faith and the love that she had. Madison shared a thought when we were in Cranbrook, and it was really interesting. With Betty's strength, she was a person that really knew her own mind. And the day that Len and I were engaged was the day that she told me she would be in the delivery room when we decided to have children. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, I won't tell you what I was thinking, but I was thinking, no, there's there's no way that that would happen. You know, that's 4 years later, we conceive, we're pregnant, and I don't know how she managed to be in Calgary the weekend that Madison was born. But she did. I don't know. And she was in the delivery room, and she was with our baby girl when she took her first breath. And I didn't know the gift at the time. I didn't know how great that gift was at the time that when we gave it to her. But thinking back now, I'm so proud that we were able to give her that gift. And Maddie had said, when we were in Cranbrook, she had said that to Grandma that you were with me, Grandma, when I took my first breath, and I'll be with you when you take your last. And in that conversation that they had, Grandma had said to Madison that, you know, she would be with her when the circle of life continues and when she would deliver our grandson Sutter. And the same with Brent and Chelsea when they decide to start a family, with Ryan, with Spencer, with Rhett and Emma. Who, by the way, that's who was on my phone when he's watching this virtually right now. So he's listening. That's okay. Just a chance to reflect. Yes, it was Rhett that was on the phone that was probably trying to follow along here, but her grandchildren meant the world to her, and she's so proud of each and every one of them. And if I've learned one thing from this woman, mom, grandma, friend, sister, auntie, it's to find a pair of rose-colored glasses and to put them on. And despite all that is wrong with this world, take the time to celebrate the love and the beauty of this life, because that's what she did truly until she took her last breath. And if we want to move forward in her steps, take out your rose-colored glasses.
This is a comfortable spot for me as well. It's part of where Betty was as well. But that was the funny room. And we enjoyed it very much. So, Betty was family. Family was very important to her. And she often let me know that I was part of her family. Betty and I spent a lot of time together. We ate, we laughed, giggled. We prayed, we shared, we cried, and had many road trips. Betty liked to volunteer me, and did so many times. When I was volunteered, I would get a phone call. I'll pick you up. Sometimes it would be a visit to the hospital, Durand, or a trip to Cranbrook. We always were eating, laughing, and sharing for the whole day. Betty was also my counselor, my doctor, my lawyer, and just a fixer-upper. She always seemed to have a solution and good entertainment. Betty spent a lot of time with her special needs group. She loved and cared for them. She organized and made it a fun time for them. Betty organized our potlucks and gave everyone a job with memorable times. She could talk for hours. Betty visited the hospital, usually on Sunday after church. She always found somebody to talk with or knew them. Her commitment was always, I'll be back. She was also my town crier, news or not. I learned about it from Betty. Some news I have to keep under my hat. I didn't wear a hat. Several years ago, Betty and I traveled to Europe together. We missed our connecting flight in Frankfurt and spent the whole day in the airport trying to get a new flight. We had to pay an additional fee and my credit card did not work. So Betty paid all the fees and we turned over our luggage to the check-in agent. The agent told us we had only 5 minutes to get to the gate, which was a long way away. Because she knew she could not move quickly with it, Betty gave out her CPAP machine to the check-in agent, not knowing if she would ever see it again. We got to the gate and got on the plane. Thankfully, Betty was willing to do what was needed to keep us together moving forward. Betty, we had lots of fun and times. We cared for each other. You were my sister. May you rest in peace. I love and miss you.
I think I'm holding the camera for everybody now. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but maybe I'll give it to Matt. Thanks, Matt. Oh, beautiful words, Richie. Thank you so much. And so well said. So a little bit of open sharing time. Is anybody brave enough to come up and share another little anecdote or story about Betty? Wonderful. Yeah, no. Why don't you come up too, and then you're ready. Come on up. Yeah, it's fine. You can come up together. And you can come up, sir. Yeah, come on up. The only thing is you have to tell everybody who you are.
I was into it with my great aunt.
Just hand you this. You okay, Paul?
And I remember sometimes in the morning I'd text her good morning and I'd text her good night every night, and I would go to Tim's with her and she would tell me these really funny stories of when we were with her friends or just with family, and it was always made my day. Sometimes after school, she would end up picking me up and then we would go to Tim's and then we would drive around and go see one of her friends, and then we would just sit there and talk for like an hour or two. And there's some funny times that we had with her. I actually remember once I was with her and we were driving back to my house and she actually got pulled over because she was going very fast. And all I could say was, oh my gosh, can't do that seriously? I'm like 9. I don't even know what's happening. And she was being so nice to the police officer, and I was like, and then the police officer didn't even give her a ticket. And I was like, okay, well, now I know that's what I have to do when I'm older. And I always knew that, like, she always had such a hope that she would live forever until she was like 1,000. I thought she was gonna too. Like, from where she was going, she looked like she was. But everybody dies eventually, and like that doesn't mean she's still like watching over us and just going to Tim's. I'll always think about her. You know, when I get pulled over when I'm older. And yeah, I always listened to the stories she told me, and I actually thought a good amount of them were fake until then I was like, you know what? She's into it. They're probably real. She's pretty crazy. But she'll always be pretty crazy, and I'll try to remember all those stories that you told me until like forever. I don't know, as long as I can. That's all.
How I met Betty. About 60 years ago, I arrived in Golden as a young mounted policeman. The Rogers Pass had just opened. Lenny had just been born. It was July 31st, 1962. Phil Dougherty, Flying Phil, was our Minister of Highway, and he jumped the gun and had a big opening on Lenny's birthday. Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, he didn't get to open the pass until the 4th of September, 62. Golden was booming. It had had 10 years of growth with the highway, the Rogers Pass being opened up. It was logging and sawmilling. I got to town and I was able to find a room with a couple named Lenny and Pat Franson. They had the old house on 11th, and they kept cooking roomers. And it was a busy place. Ethel Weber, she was the secretary at the hospital. She lived on the main floor with the Franson family. And upstairs, there were 6 young single guys. 2 bankers, 3 Mounties, and a guy named Clayton Stacy, who had arrived in town as the journalist for the Golden Star. Remember the Star? I keep pointing to Joyce because she's part of the story. Lenny Franson and 3 of the Mounties involved formed a curling team. And we got to make the ice, just down the street here. There was a curling club that had been there for 75 years. Tommy King had curled every one of those years there, and it was natural ice, and it was quite a learn. Anyway, every year they had a big banquet at the end of the year along with the curling bonspiel. And I was new to town. I hadn't got to know too many people, and they said, "You need a date." I said, "Yeah, I do. I need a date with those Holland boys." Looking for a date. And so Pat Franson and Ethel Weber and myself at the kitchen table got to brainstorming. I said, "Well, the nurses, they've got a curling club, a team. They had a bunch of funny hats. And Joyce was on the team. Remember that?" Anyway, we'd been eyeing these nurses up because they had these tight ski pants on. Every time they got down on the hack, took the eye off the broom and sneak an extra wind in. But anyway, Ethel Weber says, there's a Richards family and there's something like 5 girls there, and we're sure one of them has just come back to town. She was a new nurse, and we think her name is Betty. And this is about 3:30 and the party was starting at 8. And so I get on the phone and we look up Granny Richards' phone number. And of course she says, "Hello." And I said, "Is Benny there?" "Oh no, she has her own place now." I don't know. This is sounding good. And of course Granny gives me her number. And I phone Betty, and Betty says, I'm married. And I've got a new baby and my husband's a big lawyer. You must want my sister Bertha. Bertha? Who calls their child Bertha? Anyway, it's 3:30 and I'm desperate and I need a date. And we heard that she's just off duty and she's walking home from the hospital on 9th down to 11th. And so my buddy and I, we jump in the police car. And we start patrolling. And sure enough, here's this nurse bustling down the street at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we pull up beside her. And I said, "Are you Bertha Richards?" She said, "Yes. What have I done?" We said, "Well, nothing yet. But if you're available for a date tonight, it could be interesting." Anyway, she'd known about the nuns who had the curling team and the nurses that had the curling team and knew about the Bondsfield. And she dangerously said yes. And the rest was history. By the way, I'm Ted Brecknell. I'm Betty's brother-in-law. Bertha and I got married. Betty was an amazing person, as everybody has said. Certainly a big part of Golden, but she was even a bigger part of my family. She and sister, we called her Bert because we shortened up Bertha. But it's been a great 55-year run. It's just brother-in-law George and I left. All the brother-in-laws have passed away. George and I are holding the fort. And it's been a blessed trip, a great trip. And Betty, we miss you, we love you, and thanks for setting me up.
And you're Ted. I thought Betty was a character, but you're a character as well. I think we're going to
Sorry.
but I do have something I'd like to read. I'm a little sorry to receive this because I thought I was Betty's favorite minister.
Recording this this computer's
But I'm learning that all the ministers before me were her favorite minister. And she had a lovely relationship with Judith Hardcastle, who's a very fine person. I've had some nice conversations with Judith on the phone. And Judith wrote and sent something that she wanted shared here, and I'd like to read it on Judith's behalf. Remembering Betty. I'll be listening to Betty's service on Saturday in my office at St.Andrew's United High Judith Church in North Vancouver. I am so sorry I'm not able to join you in person to celebrate her life, but I know she would understand. She'd expect me as a pastor to be at my own church today preparing for Easter worship tomorrow morning, helping the UCW ladies change the banner in the chancel area and decorate the sanctuary, setting the table for communion, our first in a very long time, watering the big pots of beautiful flowers outside on the front steps. Well, they're a little ahead of us, aren't they? She'd expect me to visit folks today who live alone or in a care facility to wish them a happy Easter. There are lots of stories I could share with you about Betty, but there's only one that really matters, and that's how much I loved her. I know she loved me too. Betty's love was larger than life. She had a huge capacity for loving. She loved the church, the people in it, and couldn't understand it when others didn't feel the same way. She loved her family, her friends, the international students who lived with her, the disabled, diversibility, that's a good word, people she looked after for years with such joy. Betty showed her love by all the things she did every single day. What can I say about Betty except she epitomizes how each of us is called to live our lives with abounding grace. I'll always think of Betty in the season of Easter with its promise of new beginnings and when the world is filled with the love of God. Today, Betty is exactly where she wants to be, forever held in God's tender arms, which, with much love, Judith. So thank you, Judith. Beautiful words, isn't it? And I'd just like to share a few words of my own, and then we're going to wrap up the service. I came and met Betty 4 or 5 years ago when I first started coming to church as a minister here. And something I'd like to share with you, in a Sunday sermon, I shared something about this thing that I learned and teach, and it's called the Enneagram, which is about how there's 9 different personality types that people have, and it explains why sometimes people are who they are and how we have to accommodate each other, because we have different personalities. Have you noticed that people have different personalities? And rarely do people marry somebody with their same personality. Even if they did, there'd be issues around that. So we have different personalities. And Betty just loved this idea. And she was after me to come and teach this here at St. Andrew's. And I just smiled because Betty wouldn't let it go. She wanted me to come and do this. And indeed, when I heard that Betty passed away, I felt guilty that I didn't make it happen. And but I love the fact that she really wanted me to. And honestly, you know, to have a church member that wants a study to happen is beautiful. And there's a story that makes me think of. I'll tell it as quick as I can. There's a student who wanted to learn things and went to a teacher. And they sat down together, the older teacher, younger student, and then I think the teacher asked some question, and the student started to talk and went on about it. And then there was a pause, so the teacher raised something else, and then the student jumped in there, yeah, and this, and this, and this, and started to talk about it. So finally the teacher said to the student, would you like a cup of tea? And the student went sort of, well, okay. And so the teacher made tea in a pot, and then got the cup and saucer, and then started to pour the tea. And when the tea came up to the brim of the cup, the teacher just kept pouring, and the tea spilled over the brim and spilled onto the saucer and so on. And the student's going, stop, what are you doing? Stop. And then the teacher put it down and sat down and said to the student, you're like this cup of tea. You're so full, there's no room for anything else to go in. And so it was a lesson about how we can be full of ourselves and not spacious and not open to learn. And the way Betty came across to me, how she wanted to learn this, I thought it's beautiful, because here's this veteran person of life who is open to learn more stuff about life. And anyway, that was a beautiful experience for me about Betty. And the other thing I followed up with is we had a young family that started to come to church here, which is a precious thing. And there was 3 precious little ones. And Betty, who had been in oxygen, as you know, but then somehow got out of the need for oxygen, but she wanted she really, anyway, I remember coming here, and she was taking the kids out to Sunday school. And for her, in her, I don't know, would she have been early 80s then? Late 70s, to be taking children out to Sunday school. Oh, my mic is disappearing. It was a beautiful thing, and it showed for me her commitment to children. And hence why we wanted to read the passages about children in 2 ways. One is that Jesus sort of talks about how life is often in the world is structured in a hierarchy. And there's people at the top who have money and power, they think, and importance, and then there are a lot of people at the bottom. And Jesus said it's not really that way with people who live in God's way. We're to turn the world upside down. So the least are considered great and are treated that well. And so didn't Betty model that in her life with people with diverse abilities and with children? And I'll come back to that in a minute, but the other part where Jesus says, unless you become like a little child, you won't enter or see the kingdom of heaven. And so what does that mean? And one way to look at it is that as people who live here on this planet long enough, we tend to get a mental sort of filter about everything in life. And instead of seeing the way everything is, we end up seeing it through like dirty glasses, but we end up seeing it through the filter of our mind and thoughts, and then we stop seeing it that way. And so years ago I heard a line that said, every Christian should forget everything they know every 3 years and start over again. And that's not just about Christianity, that's a little bit of a lesson for all people. How can we almost forget everything we think we know and start to see life afresh?
To